7 years ago, with the R15, Yamaha gave us the taste of serious super sport motorcycles. Since then, not much has happened in that space. But a couple of months have been really exciting because that is the first serious super sport we've got in some time. But today, the Pulsar joins the fray, and it's a very different take on the super sport because it's not as committed as either of these two. How does that change the equation? We'll find out. The Yamaha YZF R15 has been amongst the most serious of the motorcycles we have had in India so far, especially in the affordable motorcycle space. It's that attribute, that focus, that's created the special place that this Yamaha has in our minds. It's why Yamaha's 150, which is a lot more expensive than all the other 150s, remains relevant and something that we can happily, confidently recommend as a good buy. Among the R15's special talents is its untiring, unflappable engine. So the R15 has the smallest engine we have on test here. But this is also the oldest engine. Because it's the oldest, we know what it stands for. This is an utterly reliable, bulletproof engine. Nothing really happens to them. And if you want to break an R15 engine, you literally have to go after it hammer and tongs and try and break it. So to me, it's not the most powerful engine on test and it's not going to be. If we had dynamometers in India where we could study the power drop-off as a bike gets older, this is probably the engine that will show the least drop-off. But the point is, not the most powerful, but this is where it's at. This is the most reliable engine you can get. After 3. Least powerful motorcycle on the test, so clearly the engine is not the highlight of the R15 anymore. But what we love about it, why this is such a spectacularly special bike, why it gives you a warm feeling inside when you see one, is that it's such a happy, cheerful, friendly thing. And you can really lean on that frame and push it really hard into corners, make mistakes, recover. And it's still got more to give you between these MRF tires, the frame. This is such a spectacular motorcycle to ride. It's just that you feel sad that Yamaha didn't update this motorcycle more because now there are motorcycles that do exactly that better than this thing. Where the Yamaha is weakest then is how it looks. When the version 2 came out, it looked fresh and even more focused than its previous version. But time has a way of making the fresh look familiar, and then the familiar starts to look unspecial. So the Yamaha might still boast outstanding build quality and finish levels, but a slew of stickering changes do not change the fact that the little Yamaha looks the oldest here. It might appear at this point that the weakest link in the R15 equation is really its age, but you'd only be partially correct. With the RC range, KTM becomes the second brand in India to boast of serious super sport motorcycles with small engines and realistic price tags. The RC200's bigger cousin, the RC390, is obviously the king of this hill, but as we've noted in all our rides and tests, the RC200 is not only a distinctly different flavor, it has a certain sweetness to it that makes it a completely valid buying proposition on its own. And at a racetrack, the RC200 also happens to be extremely effective. Part of the reason for this is the specification it comes with. The Indian KTMs tend to have higher price tags, but with that comes a raft of cutting-edge features and equipment. The RC200's engine is the only 4-valve DOHC engine we have on the test. It is the most expensive engine here. It's also the engine that is the most powerful, although by a very small margin from the Pulsar 200. What we know about it, loves its revs, wants to sit at the red line all day if you wanted to. That's how it delivers power. And in that sense, it almost feels like it steals that from the R15 because that's what the R15 was known for. Sitting at the red line all day, no stress. This thing does it as well, with a little bit more power on tap. What I really like about the RC200 is its focus. It's a really sharp super sport motorcycle despite the fact that it's only a 200. What it does is trades in practicality, convenience. It doesn't care about these things. All it wants to do is give you maximum engine and chassis performance. And that it does. The styling sort of subscribes to that ethos too. It isn't definably pretty or classically good looking, but there's a purposeful menace to the design, and yes, like the Dukes, the design instantly identifies the RC as a KTM. Like the Duke 200, the RC has radially mounted brake calipers, the orange trellis frame, this time with a different subframe and sharper steering geometry. and that terrific looking pillion seat that mimics the look of a single-seater race bike. Look closer and you'll notice that the finish levels are very good. The build quality though is just good because overdrive's RCs all have had minor fairing rattles develop. Like the 200 Duke and the Pulsar 200 NS grew up together, so did the RC200 and the RS200. As a result, the RS has the same pressed steel frame as the NS, but it gets sharper steering and a marginally shorter wheelbase, just like the RC200. The styling is completely new, of course, as is the new ergonomics package. Similar changes have been made to the engine as well.
So you might imagine that the RS200 engine and the RC200 engine are very similar, but you'd actually be more accurate if you thought of this as an evolution of the NS's engine. From the NS to this, it's got fuel injection. The throttle bodies are 4 mm larger in dimension than the carburetors on the NS. To accommodate the fuel injection, the head is different, and in the process, you get a much more refined engine. It sounds substantially different from every Pulsar before. It sounds a lot more calm, a lot more refined, not as metallic as usual. And as usual, the pass tread is very flat, very linear, so you don't actually realize how fast you're going. But if you really want to get a move on, 6000 RPM, you have to get past that. After that, it's a pretty nice engine. The highlight of the RS200 for me is, well, definitely not the styling. The engine is nice, but what is really impressive is the handling of the motorcycle. Bajaj has not done much to the frame if you think about it. They've tucked in the steering 1 degree, it's a slightly shorter wheelbase, a tendon change in trail maybe. But the result is phenomenal because when you take this thing around the corners, it is so stable, so confident that you just want to keep pushing it more and more and more. In fact, I have to give extra credit to the MRF tires. They were specifically developed for this bike and they work really well with the chassis. So to me, the highlight why you should be buying the RS200 is to corner it. It's really, really good.
I wish we gave out a maximum style for money award because on that count, the Pulsar RS200 is a winner. I've never encountered this much design in one motorcycle. The scoops, strakes, textures, lines, stickers, wow, it's a lot to take in. I'd love to say that this makes the Pulsar ugly, but the fact is that the RS200 isn't pleasant to look at, but it's definitely got presence, especially in the flesh. More importantly, once you get past the incredible busyness of the design, you'll notice the average finish levels. Many panels on our test bike didn't sit right with each other, and equally average build quality, the fairing was rattling away audibly by the time we ended our test. When you put the three together and ride them back to back, you quickly realize that the R15 and the RC200 are similar to each other in nature and role. But the Pulsar RS200 is distinctly more laid back in this particular aspect. On the other hand, the RC looks the best to my eyes here, while the Yamaha shows how build and finish should be done. But who wins overall?
The third bike on this test is the R15, and I'm really sad for it because it's such a special motorcycle, but it's no longer special enough because that Pulsar is just a little bit more expensive, but is more powerful and it's a vastly better deal. But in terms of roll focus, the R15 is a serious super sport. Unfortunately, that mantle has also been taken because this is a lot more serious than the R15, lot more performance, and it is serious. It's not as comfortable as the Pulsar. It'll make your wrists ache after a little bit, but go into a corner, there's nothing purer than that in this segment. And that's what makes the Pulsar so special because it's not the most focused motorcycle here, but that frame has that nature of the super sport. It's a very sharp, accurate frame, but it's not that uncomfortable. The bars are still high up. You can ride it out on the street and you will not be uncomfortable. And it's got the price which is closer to the R15 than the RC200. So overall, not the purest motorcycle here, but clearly that's the best deal.